When President Trump announced that the United States would take over the Gaza Strip, the world was shocked. A land that has been engulfed in conflict for decades, where even regional powers are wary. Now it is in Washington's sights. How will the United States control Gaza? Who will accept their presence? And most importantly, what will be the fate of the Palestinian people? A grand plan is being drawn up, but can it become a reality? On February 4, 2025, at a press conference after meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House, US President Donald Trump shocked the world when he announced that the United States could take over the Gaza Strip. This move immediately attracted the attention of the international community, causing many controversies and mixed reactions from countries, international organizations, and human rights groups. Specifically, in the press conference, the US leader said that there is no long-term future for Palestinians in Gaza. This land has been devastated by conflict and is no longer suitable for living. Therefore, the Palestinian people have no choice but to leave. He also said that the US takeover of Gaza will help promote peace in the region. Is this a spontaneous statement or a pre-calculated plan? Initially, many people thought that this was just a temporary statement by Mr. Trump, who is famous for his straightforward style and shocking statements. However, just 5 days later, on February 9, 2025, he once again reaffirmed his point of view. He even said that the United States would buy and own Gaza, turning it into a real estate paradise. Obviously, this is not a joke or a temporary political trick. Instead, it reflects a serious plan that the US government is considering. What is really behind this move? Does the US really want to take over Gaza? And if so, how will they do it? Before discussing whether this plan is feasible or not, it is necessary to understand what the US is aiming for when making this statement. Why does a small strip of land like Gaza attract Mr. Trump's attention? First of all, in terms of geography, Gaza, although small, its strategic value cannot be measured by its area. Looking at the map, this is just a coastal strip of land, but in reality, whoever controls Gaza will have an important military and economic advantage in the region. When it comes to the Mediterranean, everyone knows that this is one of the busiest seas in the world. It is the intersection between Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. A country that wants to expand its influence in this region needs strategic bases to control important sea routes. And Gaza, with its location right on the Mediterranean coast, is such a position. If the United States takes over Gaza and develops it into a major port, it will have another fulcrum to monitor all maritime activities in the region. From here, Washington can monitor Russian warships in Syria, control oil shipments from Iran, and monitor the vital shipping route connecting Europe with the Middle East. In addition, the military presence in Gaza also helps the United States increase its influence in the region, create more pressure on political rivals such as Iran, Russia, and China. In addition to strategic benefits, the US takeover of Gaza could also bring another important benefit, ensuring security for Israel, Washington's closest ally in the Middle East. Israel has long considered Gaza a serious threat, and Hamas' control of the area has always been a difficult problem. Rocket attacks, border conflicts, and armed activities from Gaza have always kept Israel on high alert. If the United States takes over, it means that Israel no longer has to constantly worry about this threat. A Gaza under US administration, protected by the US military, even rebuilt with modern cities. That is certainly a vision that Israel would love to see. In fact, during his previous term, Mr. Trump made a series of moves expressing strong support for the Jewish state, most notably the decision to move the US embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. This is an extremely important step, tantamount to a tacit recognition that Jerusalem is the official capital of Israel. This has long been a source of controversy between Israel and the Arab world. This move has caused a backlash from Palestine and many Muslim countries, but for Israel, it is an unprecedented support from US president. So it is not surprising that Israel could completely side with the US in its plan to take over Gaza. If the US sets foot here, Israel will still be the one to benefit the most. There is no longer a threat from Hamas, and there is no longer a single country surrounded by Arab countries. And most importantly, they have a strong ally on their border, helping to strengthen their national security. Besides, there is another factor that many people may overlook, which is the distance between Gaza and the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal is one of the world's most important shipping routes, connecting Europe with Asia, and is a key route for transporting oil, goods, and industrial raw materials. Dozens of giant ships pass through this route every day, contributing to the operation of the global economy. The United States, of course, cannot directly control the Suez Canal because it is owned by Egypt. However, if they establish a strong military base in Gaza, it is no different from placing an outpost right next to the world's most important shipping route. From here, Washington can closely monitor oil tankers from the Gulf, monitor the shipping activities of Russia and China. At the same time, it creates a tool to put pressure on economic rivals if necessary. A Gaza under US control would not only help Washington expand its military influence in the Middle East, but also create a springboard to influence global trade flows. And for a businessman-minded politician like Mr. Trump, the possibility that he sees this potential is not surprising. Mr. Trump's announcement of taking over Gaza may be shocking, but making it a reality is an extremely difficult problem. The United States cannot simply declare sovereignty and control over this land without facing fierce opposition from many sides. So if they really want to do it, how will they proceed? First of all, legally, occupying a territory by force is strictly prohibited by international law. The Geneva Convention, along with important UN resolutions, especially resolutions 242 and 338, all emphasize the principle of not invading territory by force. Although Gaza is not an independent state, it is still under the control of the Palestinian Authority. If the United States sets foot here without the consent of the Palestinian people, it will be considered a violation of sovereignty. In addition, Washington would immediately face a wave of criticism from major powers such as Russia and China, which have long opposed this intervention in the Middle East. Moscow and Beijing would certainly take advantage of this opportunity to condemn the United States on the international stage. They could even support armed groups against them in the region. Not only that, even close allies in the Arab world, such as Egypt and Jordan, would find it difficult to accept as control of the Gaza Strip. These countries all have sensitive relations with the Palestinians, especially Jordan, home to a large number of Palestinian refugees. If the US really took over here, a wave of protests could erupt in their own allied countries. The situation in the United States is no better. A large-scale military campaign to control Gaza would need to be approved by Congress. And with the current political division, this is almost impossible. Furthermore, American public opinion, after the losses in Afghanistan and Iraq, is no longer interested in sending troops to the Middle East. If the Trump administration tries to implement such a plan, it will face fierce opposition from the people of the country. Even if we ignore the political and legal barriers, controlling Gaza by force is still a challenging problem. The Gaza Strip is small in area, but one of the most densely populated areas in the world, with more than 2 million people living in an area of 365 square kilometers. This means that any military campaign will cause huge civilian casualties, creating a huge stain on the image of the United States in the international arena. Experience from Afghanistan and Iraq has shown that, even if the United States can win the initial military campaigns, maintaining control of a densely populated territory with many active and combat-ready armed groups will be a huge challenge. Hamas and other forces will certainly not sit idly by. They will see the presence of the United States as an act of aggression and launch guerrilla attacks. With its complex tunnel system, urban warfare capabilities, and guerrilla tactics, Hamas is fully capable of turning Gaza into a long-term war zone from which the United States will find it difficult to escape. In short, even if the United States may intend to take over Gaza, doing so will not only face legal and political obstacles, but also face military challenges that are very difficult to overcome. Gaza may be small on the map, but it is one of the most sensitive hotspots in the world. Using force is too risky. So what path can help the United States control Gaza without causing a large-scale war? The answer probably lies in diplomatic agreements, where Washington can use a policy of sticks and carrots, bargaining with other powers to achieve its goals, without launching a large-scale war. One of the major moves the United States can use is negotiation.